Anytime.
Well, I seem to have run into some good luck over here, and I've started my own business, and I decided to get a little family business going, and it's... All right, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Steve Werner was the most interesting, brilliant, funny person I've ever met in my life. And he was also certifiably insane.
I'm the new production manager. I am, you remember Torch? I'm the Flame.
Steve was the most outgoing, gregarious, crazy, funny, smart, wacky, insane character ever.
My first impression of Steve was, what an obnoxious, cocky son of a bitch.
Folks on the right side over there in the distance, you can see...
Take a picture of my nuts.
If I had to choose one word to describe Steve, that word would be dominant. He was just one of those guys that when he walked in the room, he just took over.
I was instantly captivated by the front man. This young, brash kid who was... First thing I noticed is he was bad-mouthing all the rednecks in the crowd. There were a lot of rednecks, and he was literally taunting them.
Werner, he could do any goddamn thing he wanted, and he did.
Steve, besides being my best friend, was a fellow who I met in 1969. He was playing with a band called Next of Kin, which was just a fine band with Gary Sylvie, Kurt Franklin, Bruce Ketchell was playing drums. For one reason or another, I think Bruce left the band and I replaced him in 1969, and that's when my relationship with Steve started.
Steve could play pretty much any musical style. In fact, the first time I saw him, he was playing in a band called Bartok's Mountain.
I think Bartok's Mountain was a very adventurous band at the time, and I loved Sweetheart of the Rodeo. I've been listening to that album a lot, and I thought, man, these guys nail that stuff.
He was a great country player. He was a great rock player. He was a great funk player. He could play soul. And for like a couple of years, he was a formidable jazz guitar player.
Both Hotfoot and the Steve Werner Band were like a musical stew made up of Little Feat, Steely Dan, Hall & Oates, which Steve called Philly Soul. Great players, great music, and they were just terrific bands to go see back in those days.
Playing with Steve was amazing because he was just such a strong player. It was like catching a ride in a limousine.
Spoiled those 10 years because I never had to, nothing seemed to take any effort. It was just so easy, and I come to find out later that's not so normal.
He exposed me to a lot of things musically that kind of is part of who I am today.
When I started working with him in Hotfoot, I was really impressed with his knowledge of all genres, his ability to lay out a solo simply and effectively and uniquely. He was a mentor, what can I say?
Around 1979, I think, Steve moved to Los Angeles, right before I did. And once I moved out here, we got together and talked about putting a band together, and this was when Snapshots was born. And Snapshots was a very good band.
It's alright, hugging and kissing, the end of the block where the lights don't go. But don't give your heart to no streetlight Romeo. No, baby.
Falling into a groove with him, playing in a band with him, was just like getting in the rocking chair. He was always, no matter how sideways he was, whatever substances we were abusing at the time, he had an uncanny ability to hold down a groove and be really present in the music.
Don't go, but don't give your heart to no streetlight Romeo. Say it.
I was immediately impressed on all those singing, certainly singing, playing, certainly songwriting. Then when I heard the actual songs, like, wow.
Everywhere I look, I see her smiling. Every magazine, every new picture I see. Where is the one that the camera shows? She's the one I know, I know. She's a pretty girl, she's always smiling picture.
Being on stage didn't stop Steve from being a star. I think he was more colorful after the gig, late night, off stage, than he was on stage.
Oh, well, he had a lot of reputations.
These were interesting times, both musically and pharmaceutically.
You know, to hang with him, you had to be well rested.
When I asked him why he became a musician, his answer was, I quote, "to get girls."
Snapshots became one of those best unsigned bands in Los Angeles. We had a great reputation, great following, and just never got the break. So after a couple of years and a few different band lineups, that was the end of Snapshots.
In the mid-90s, Steve had a band called Mighty Rusty and the Stumblers. And I used to go sit in and play with the guys, and I think it was like one of the best bands he ever had, because he had totally turned off his give-a-shitter, and it ended up being amazing music.
The Stumblers was probably the best band Steve and I ever played in. I don't know if it was because we were older and more mature and played less or cared less, but whatever it was, this was some of the best music we ever made together.
He could shame you, you know, like I can play some simple stuff, but he could sort of shame me into feeling like I'd turned into Eddie Van Halen or some crap.
We'd finish a song and you'd hear, and he'd go, "Everyone's digging me."
But after about 6 months of playing the clubs, it reminded us of why we got out of the business to begin with. So we hung it up, and that was the last time Steve ever played in a band.
I could see always the admiration that other musicians had for him. It was apparent, it was visceral, but Steve never ever abused that. You know, he always returned the respect in kind.
If I were to describe Steve in a word or a phrase, and I've thought about this, it would have to be larger than life.
I don't know. It's like brilliance, stupidity, you know, I mean, on and on, all at once.
He just loved leading people, entertaining people, and leading them to see things and experience things.
If I had to describe Steve in one word, it would be chaos.
So Steve, congratulations to you. This has been a long time coming. You deserve it, buddy.
Well, wherever you are, buddy, congratulations on the induction into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, Steve, on your induction into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame, even if you are from the sorry state of Missouri.
Hey Steve, wherever you are, congratulations on being inducted into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame. You deserve it richly, and I sure wish you were here to play for us.
Maybe someday they'll have a smart-ass Hall of Fame, and I have no doubt you'll make it on the first ballot.
Way to go, Steve. And I'd go wherever you are, and I'd look up here and I go, well, I don't know, could be down there. I'm not sure where you are, but wherever you are, congrats.
Steve, I'd sure like to congratulate you on your induction into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame. And I want to thank you for everything you did to me and for me in your brief life here. Love you, buddy. Leave the to me in there.
But in my heart I still feel the